Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the May 7th, 2026 regular council meeting beginning at 7:30 p.m. Tonight, we will be led in prayer by Councilwoman Montgomery, and if you'll please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please bow your heads. Father God, we thank you for this beautiful day that you've given us, and we rejoice and we're glad in it. We rejoice because we woke up this morning and we have had a day. There are those that don't have that luxury. Now, Father God, as we go through this meeting, may we all keep a sound mind, and that everything that can be decided or discussed be in order and in decency, with ethics, respect, and dignity. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor Perry,
Here.
Vice Mayor Croucher,
Here.
Ms. Montgomery,
Here.
Mr. Profit,
Here.
Mr. Nichols,
Here.
Ms. Butts,
Here.
Mr. Rourke.
Here.
Thank you. We'll start off with presentations, and we have a presentation by City Attorney Mr. Nick Ziffel. Mr. Ziffel.
I wanted to, at our last meeting, council voted to approve the petition for the expedited annexation of the property referenced in St. Clair, Madison Township and Perry.
You gotta walk up there. Can you do this one? You got it.
I'm gonna move this mic over here, Stas, so everybody can hear me. All right. And during that discussion at the last meeting, I mentioned that the process for an annexation, it's under Chapter 709 of the revised code. It has some short deadlines out of the gate. The main one being this, what's called a statement of services. It's passed by resolution. It's required under Ohio Revised Code. It's required to be passed 20 days after the filing of the petition, and knowing our council meetings and the timing of those, that is a short time window to have two readings and also to pass and approve. To be able to pass and approve the resolution, normally there's a 30-day referendum. If it's passed by emergency, which this will qualify for an emergency under Ohio law, then it's not subject to referendum. So it's going to be required to be passed by emergency. Every single one of them is, just by the very nature of the timing of the short window in Chapter 709. So, like I said, there has been no petition filed to date. We are still working on some of the administrative items on the back end, and we'll keep council up to date on the timing of that as well to get some of the legal descriptions with the property owners clarified, confirmed, and moving forward. But when we do, we're going to have a statement of services resolution before council rather quickly. So instead of waiting for that time, I just wanted to bring it up now just to get out in front of it and talk about it and discuss exactly what this resolution is. So this is two things on this slide. One is the timeline required under Chapter 709 of the revised codes at the top. So once a petition's filed with the county, again, no petition has been filed to date. We're still finalizing some of the ironing out the administrative items on the back end. Within 5 days, the city and township will receive notice. And then within 20 days after notice, the city must adopt a statement of services. 30 days after filing is the deadline to consent or object. And like I discussed at our last meeting, that merely is under an expedited annexation. It's a mouthful. That timeline is challenging whether the petition is complete as required under the revised code. If the township or city claims that petition is incomplete, they would object. The county commissioners would have a hearing just to review if the petition statutorily complies with the revised code. That's really the standard there. It's not necessarily a public hearing as much as it's just a meeting by the county commissioners to review and check the boxes. There's actually a form Butler County has for annexation where you check the boxes on the application, just to make sure you're hitting all the required documents and signatures that are required under Chapter 709. The bottom is a snapshot of this exact resolution that we did back in 2022. Like I said, with every annexation, the city has to provide one. So I just went back and pulled the most recent one. I think we've done 3 or 4 in the last few years. So they're out there. We've done them before. But knowing there's certainly new council members on board, and I'm sure you guys all probably don't sit on pins and needles waiting for me to discuss annexation. So I don't know if you'll remember all of this from 4 years ago. So the Statement of Municipal Services, this is required of the revised code. Like I said, it goes through just the municipal services, the public services that you're going to provide to the territory upon annexation. Under the revised code, this is basically giving the property owners notice of, hey, if you are annexed, your territory is annexed, these are the public services you would receive from the municipality. I've put these 6 in here because if you look across the state, this is the 6 these are the only 6 you really talk about. So I wanted to go through each of them tonight in some review and just talk about it a little bit more in detail so that you all know when it comes up on the resolution, it'll say zoning services. It's like, well, what does that mean? Police and fire, water and sewer, roads, stormwater, and then other services, which are just the other administrative items that a municipality handles for its jurisdiction. So when we look at the property now, the 600 acres in St. Clair and Madison Township, most of that territory is currently zoned M2 industrial, general industrial, in the Butler County Rural Zoning Resolution and in the St. Clair Township Zoning Resolution. Those are separate, though they overlap significantly. As it remains outside of the city, the township county zoning's involved with that M2 general industrial. The city has no municipal zoning jurisdiction, and the city, if it was to provide utility services in some fashion, it's going to be limited by ordinance. It's going to have separate agreements. But if it is approved, the annexation is ultimately approved. Again, that's an if. The city service statement will govern those municipal services provided to the property. Now, the city zoning, I don't know if there's ever been an annexation where zoning doesn't apply, because that's just zoning covers your territory. The zoning development review procedures would apply for any development on that property. And utility extensions, permits, payments, those are all separate. Nothing like that would be approved at this stage, right? This is merely the general services that would be provided. And I do want to highlight that, for example, zoning, it doesn't mean there's some free reign for zoning on this property. It's going to be subject to all the rules, all the ordinances of our city upon annexation. So it's not like a free pass or anything like that. Currently, just to go through what the current property is zoned for, and I know it's used agriculturally now, but it has been zoned M2 general industrial for quite some time. And this is through the county and township zoning resolutions. Under M2, they use the same code sections, the same permitted uses. So all permitted uses in M1 district, which is a lower industrial use, would include essentially office buildings, warehouses, storage units. Additionally, under M2, there's warehouses. These are all permitted uses by right currently on the property. Bulk stations, chemical manufacturing, salvage yards. There is a conditional use arm in the M2 zoning that would allow even further development on the property, including, these are just some of the lists there: explosives manufacturing, poison manufacturing, corrosive acid manufacturing. Those would all be conditionally permitted on the property as it sits. Now, our city has adopted its industrial zone district, and I've identified these two because, frankly, if you look at the current zoning and you try to match them up, these are kind of the similar areas. Now, let me clarify now, council. Upon zoning, right, there is a procedure in our code and under the Ohio Revised Code upon annexation, the property would then go through its own process to be to have its zoning designated under the city ordinance. It goes through planning commission, there's a hearing process, it comes to council. There is a long-winded process for that to take place. I merely pointed these out because they do overlap in the general permitted uses now on the property, which is one of the factors planning commission will consider in that process, and ultimately council. So I pulled out the city's IG and general industrial district and the IT infrastructure and technology district. It shows the general types of examples, the standards that are applied. This is very high level, but these are the reasons why I've identified these now. Now, I would note, for example, I didn't identify residential. We could go through that, but currently as it sits in an M2 general industrial, the only thing prohibited on that property is residential development. Everything else is either permitted or conditional. So under the IT district standards, if we focus on that, there's very limited use categories, right? So the uses of that property will go from a wide array under current M2 down to essentially the very limited uses that are already in our code. Any residential edge where it sets near a residential development, there's buffers including 25-foot landscape buffers, evergreen plantings, a visual barrier where required. These are all currently in our code. I also note here that the buffer is not the same as a setback. We're going to get to that in a minute. There are also operational standards that are baked into our code that are not necessarily at the same level in other zoning districts. And there's also other site design standards in our IT district, including limitations on outdoor storage, significant fire explosion safety provisions, and then, like I said before, increased setbacks from adjacent properties. So this is just a quick comparison. Minimum lot area between the M2 and the city IT. We have a minimum lot area of 10 acres. We have a minimum frontage requirement for any property of 150 feet. We have a 150-foot front yard setback opposed to the current 50-foot setback. Currently, there is no general side yard setback but for budding adjoining properties under the county's M2 district. The city IT was going to have a 50-foot minimum with on the side yard, 200 feet. So for a total of 100 feet, one on each side, and then 200 feet if it abuts residential. The buffer is similar, but like I said, the M2 does not include the setback to the extent the cities does. The outdoor storage is significantly limited. Those are the county M2 setback rules are kind of convoluted, so I couldn't even fit them in the little Excel sheet I made here. And then the height requirements within 200 feet of any residential, it's limited to 50, but beyond that, there's an unlimited height restriction in the M2 district. The city's IT is set at 85 feet at a maximum, but that's also based on the significant setbacks in the IT district. So when you go to the zoning, if it was, like I said, this is a legislative process before the Planning Commission. This is me merely taking the city IT current zoning and saying, well, these are generally similar, but here's how they differ, right? So that's why I chose the IT for this comparison. There, of course, Planning Commission is going to, and Council is going to ultimately make any decision if the property's annexed. The City Council and Planning Commission will ultimately set the zone. It's not designated upon annexation. That's for public hearing, that's for Council and Planning Commission to go through that process. Police and fire, the great thing about Butler County is there are mutual aid agreements amongst many, if not all of the jurisdictions. Chief would know much more. So regardless of whether annexation occurs or not, our great police and fire would respond as needed to protect those properties, or if there's an issue on those properties, much like this police and fire currently do with parcels that are nearby that are not located within the city. However, if it is annexed, the parts of the police and fire and EMS will be incorporated in any potential development. They will have oversight. They will provide input on it. Without annexation, that would not be provided. They would go through the county if there is ever development in the township, but at the city's side, if it is annexed and subject to the zoning of the city, our safety services would have an input on any type of development on those properties, including pre-construction review and then inspections, code compliance, emergency operations planning. These are all the items that our great police and fire staff do already for the properties within our city. Water and sewer and wastewater planning. So there's a lot to this. Currently, in the township, as we know, there's neighbors to our south that have wells that pull from wells. That is an option for property remaining in the township. However, under our city ordinances, if that property is within the city limitations and they have access to sanitary water, a water line, they must, by city code, hook up and use city water. So there's a regulation there. If you think about it, if there's, in theory, a claimed large potential water user that, there's concerns about how much they're going to pull on the aquifer, that is eliminated if they have to hook up to city water. The other piece of that, and I know this is the big issue we're talking about, is there a data center going or not? I would just note, I'm not speaking to that. I'm speaking to what the state of Ohio permits allow in unincorporated areas, including townships. There's draft permits out there that will permit data centers throughout the state that are not in a municipality to discharge any wastewater, sanitary wastewater. There's some specific regulations on it, directly into streams as opposed to going through a sewer system. Of course, if property is within the city, our city code requires that they hook up to the sewer. One second. I think that's all on that one. Now, these services, if they are provided by the city, of course, the city is reimbursed for those through various ways, much like it currently happens with any property, whether it's real estate property taxes, income taxes for employment on those properties, tap fees, service charges, all of those which would be utilized to cover any additional costs and burden on the city staff to handle any development on the property. So otherwise, for example, like police, fire, and EMS, if they do respond, mutual aid agreements, that's not something that our police and fire staff would essentially be reimbursed for through taxes, right? So they would perform, the assistance needed, but that's not tied to our jurisdiction. So, you're not getting reimbursed for those services. Of course, that's not an issue, that's not a factor for our police and fire to even consider, but I want the council to be fully aware of that. Let's see, and I know I've said it like 3 times. I'm going to stress it again. When this resolution for statement of services comes up, that's just the start of the process. That's right after the petition's filed. It's still going to go through the county. If it's approved by the county, if it follows the statutory requirements, upon then, if annexation becomes effective, there are a number of other things that would go on this, before this council, before there's any type of development on any property, right? It would follow the same laws that everyone else follows in the city, including, like I said, upon annexation, there's a zoning classification, public hearing with planning commission and city council. If there was any development, it's going to go through the same site plan development review process for the city. That's going to include any type of traffic and access analysis. Utilities and stormwater will be a requirement for city property, and that would be subject to, any development would have to work through those logistics and make sure they use the public sewer and water services available. Any type of building fire permits would have to come through the city and other applicable jurisdictions, the state, depends on whatever the development is. And then inspections enforcement would be covered by the city in our zoning enforcement team. So timing of when these would apply, again, none of this applies until or after the annexation would be approved, but if it becomes effective, all of these things essentially become effective immediately. That doesn't mean they're granted, some different unfettered right. That property is still subject to the same procedures for every property in the city. They're going to have to go through all these different analysis for any development. And I think that's about all I have on that slide. Yep. Then this is just a summary of the things I had, just so if you guys have questions, you can kind of look at what I talked about. I've got these slides. I know I emailed them. I emailed them to you today.
Yes,
Just
I
to
got
make
them.
sure you had a copy in case my computer. I can provide all of council these. So if you have any questions, like I said, I can scroll back through them. Happy to answer any questions you have now. If they come up as we talk about this more, just let me know. I can address them for all of you. And like I said, this is not up for even first reading tonight. I just wanted to get ahead of it with council and start answering any questions you may have.
Appreciate it.
Any questions from council right now? I know that's a lot to
I
take in.
dumped a lot on it. I did.
So we will go from there with it, and if you have any questions, then you can bring them up in future council meetings.
Reach out anytime if you have any specific questions. Happy to.
All right, we'll go to approval of minutes. Number one are the minutes of the April 16th, 2026 regular council meeting. Number two are the minutes of the April 16th, 2026 work session. Do we have any amendments to the minutes as presented to us? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion that we adopt.
Second.
Councilman Nichols and Vice Mayor Croucher. Roll call, please.
Mr. Nichols?
Yay.
Vice Mayor Croucher?
Yay.
Ms. Montgomery?
Yay.
Mr. Profit?
Yeah.
Ms. Butts?
Yay.
Mr. Rourke?
Yeah.
Mayor Perry?
Yay. All right. We have a consent agenda next. Do we need to go over the language? I think we've went over it a few times what a consent agenda is. So if anyone would like to remove one of these two items, please speak up now. Or ask any questions on either of them. All right. I will entertain a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Vice Mayor Croucher and Councilman Nichols. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Croucher?
Yay.
Mr. Nichols?
Yay.
Ms. Montgomery?
Yay.
Mr. Profit?
Yeah.
Ms. Butts?
Yay.
Mr. Rourke?
Yeah.
Mayor Perry?
Yay. We have no correspondence, so we'll move on to audience of public. Did we have anyone sign up? Thank you very much. So as always, to keep the meetings to a reasonable expense and time limit for the city, the following rules shall apply. We will not attack members of the public or council personally. Both will be addressed as a whole and not individuals. While comments are open to all, taxpayers of Trenton and signups using their legal names are first to have the floor. The person speaking has the floor during their time at the lectern. No one else shall speak. After the speaker has finished, council or staff may answer any questions if they wish. While there is no set time, please respect the time so we have everyone speak that wishes to. Council and staff will not answer theoretical questions. If litigation is mentioned, it will go directly to Mr. Zipfel. No comment will be made by staff. I will ask council if they would like to respond to every speaker when the speech has concluded. And that being said, we will start off with Karen Embry. Nope. Okay. Mr. Embry. No. Thank you. Mr. Blankenship.
Good evening, council, staff, everybody that's here. Sorry I'm short-winded. It's been a long day and got some things I got to take care of the house after I leave here, but that's neither here nor there. One of the things I'd like to know is and I would appreciate a response before I do have to leave tonight. Goes back to the meeting the other day. I know that media was supposed to come. I know that media never showed up. I know that 3 of the staff members here never showed up. Ms. Montgomery, I do apologize for whatever medical emergency you had in your family.
Was not good.
So my condolences or apologies for that. But somewhere or another, somebody knew something, but the citizens yet again was left in the dark. And I'd like to know why. Are the citizens always being left in the dark when something important comes up, or a meeting is going to be changed because we do this real quick and then we don't say nothing at all to people when a meeting pops up? So I would like an answer to that. Also, let me go back through my notes. Sorry, I'm kind of shaking this evening. The thing I'd like to know is, we've discussed it here several times before they even started grading the property. I asked y'all for moratorium on the property. I was told specifically there's nothing to place a moratorium on. Right now, when you look about the county, 5 townships have already placed moratoriums on nothing, I'm assuming. If so, why are they placing moratoriums on nothing if we had nothing to place a moratorium on? Because this affects everybody in our city, everybody around us in communities, and we're starting to see that with the signatures that's being signed because they don't want a data center. I mean, we've got something for sure that needs a moratorium on, or a study or something. We never even seen studies for health, for environment, for water. Why not? If it's not important or there's nothing there. Because this is all of our communities. This is all of our surrounding people that live here. We deserve answers some way or another. So I would like to, at least before I leave tonight, to go bury what I've got to go bury. I'd like to have some answers from someone before I leave.
Anyone from council?
I'll speak to the meeting a little bit. That meeting was scheduled as a special meeting, which is allowed by Ohio law. Things come up from time to time that have to be done in a certain time frame. The only purpose of this being, and on a special meeting, the purpose of that meeting has to be declared, and that's the only thing that can be done, the only thing that can be discussed. Okay? The only purpose for that meeting was an executive session, and the only purpose for that executive session was for the city staff and council to have a discussion to kind of get on the same page before some coming meetings. Okay? That's all it was. There wasn't going to be any public comment. There wasn't going to be any decisions made, no votes, nothing. It was strictly informational. But any time that we get together as a group, it has to be as a public meeting. Okay? That's basically the explanation for that.
And as far as staff goes, we're not gonna keep staff from getting to go home if they don't have to be here.
I will ask when you speak directly into the microphone. I know it's having a lot of trouble picking it up. So I think the term is swallow the microphone. Yeah, so that meeting was, I'll say everything. Mr. Nichols sent out a meeting request to council. The first date that was thrown out there for the meeting was Thursday. Some of council weren't able to make it on Thursday, so the majority that were here agreed to on that Tuesday. So that's why it was held on that Tuesday. And yes, the only thing is that we had a meeting planned with the county on Friday where they wanted to speak about some economic development for the townships. And we wanted to make sure that we all got on the same page before we went to the county and assured them that we would help the townships. And I will say this, and I'll reiterate this again. We are 100% on board with working with the townships so that we all prosper off of this. There's a lot of things that were brought up. There's a lot of discussions that have happened, and we are 100% for being partners with the townships in any endeavor we have. As far as moratorium, when it came to that property that was out there, when you were asking for a moratorium, the moratorium wouldn't have affected that property at all. Once zoning is granted and once someone has a significant interest in that property, you can't put a moratorium on what they bought it for at the time the purchase happened. So regardless of if Prologis got the property, turned in the plans, got an okay from Butler County, or even if they didn't have an okay for Butler County and we turned around and put a moratorium, that moratorium would not apply to that Prologis site. Am I correct in that, Mr. Zipfel?
Yes, Mayor.
So when you were asking for a moratorium, you were asking it to stop that Prologis site. At that time, it wouldn't have applied. There was nothing to put a moratorium. And I will add that a lot of places are putting moratoriums not to stop the building, but make sure they have proper zoning for them. As was showed by Mr. Zipfel, the zoning is proper here in Trenton. We exceed a lot of other municipalities and areas in the zoning for these centers of what they ended up putting after their moratoriums. So, like I said, at that point, the moratorium that you asked for we would have went through all of that. We would have taken it through our planning commission and everything else, and it wouldn't have applied. Right? Mr. Davis.
Good evening, council, and everybody here this evening. Over the past several meetings, but particularly the last one, which turned more into a formal Q&A, the public has been repeatedly given the impression that the city's involvement in this overall development process has been limited, and that many of the major decisions are occurring elsewhere at the county or the utility level. However, written communications that have circulated appear to reflect a much deeper level of coordination connected to the progression of this project. And for the record, these statements are based on documented communications and emails that I've reviewed. These communications reference continued partnership efforts with city discussions following review with the city council regarding extension terms tied to property transactions, escrow coordination connected to closing activity, and discussions concerning how certain payments should be structured without publicly referencing the city in connection to those transactions. I'm not making accusations tonight. I'm just asking for clarity, because from a public perspective, it's very difficult to reconcile these documented discussions with repeated characterization that the city's role in this development process has been minimal. And if the city's involvement and authority in this process are truly as limited as residents have been led to believe, then it becomes difficult to understand how communications of this scope and level of coordination were taking place without the city having meaningful influence, leverage, or the ability to say no at earlier stages of the process. Residents are trying to understand what level of coordination, commitment, and involvement already exists behind the scenes while the public is still being told many of these decisions are happening elsewhere or have effectively already been made. This project is too significant to be accompanied by uncertainty about who is involved, when those discussions began, and how far the process has already advanced outside public view. Transparency is not simply about releasing information after concerns are raised. It is about ensuring the public has a clear and honest understanding of the role their local government is playing while these decisions are unfolding. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think this is important to get out at this point. And this is something that we can talk about. And actually, I think everyone up here thinks is not correct that's going on now. So the state of Ohio has now made it so that, and stop me, Stas or Nick, if I say something, or you can clarify, has now written into law that any economic development is not subject to public records requests. So at this point, any economic development that happens with the city is not only, there are some documents that we have a choice whether we release them or not. If we release economic development per the public records request, we get charged with a crime. They have made it a, what is it?
Sorry.
What? It's a 4th degree misdemeanor to the person that releases that economic development status. So at this point, and I believe it was, when was that passed or go into effect?
Yeah.
But as of March 26th of 2026, the state of Ohio has made it a criminal action if you release economic development data for a public records request. So honestly, I think that's something that everybody here in this room will say is wrong.
Yeah.
And there are a number of co-signers on that bill, and I would encourage everyone to please contact them. It was tacked on to another bill late. So please, because I don't think that we've ever not released data when it was able for us to release it. But now as it stands, all of that is not releasable.
To add to that point, that bill that you are referring to is House Bill 184. There are multiple co-sponsors, so I would, if anyone has any concerns regarding that, I would reach out to those respected co-sponsors. And Mr. Ziffel and Mr. Allen and I, we've all looked through this and researched it very thoroughly, so we have a pretty good understanding of what that bill encompasses.
Thank you.
It was co-sponsored by pretty much every elected state official in this area.
All right. So seeing that, and I will go ahead and open the floor to anyone that would like to speak at this point.
Perry, 839 Autumn Court. Nothing to do with the data center. What I'd like to bring forward to council, I personally think after picking my granddaughter up twice this week, Hamilton Trenton Road, we need to go ahead and extend our part of the sidewalk for the high school. There's 2 kids walking right on the edge of the road, cars swerving out and everything else. I think it's high time that we do it as a city, take care of our part. I know St. Clair keeps saying they don't have the money. It's, that's irrelevant. But I think it's time that we as a city put the sidewalk in from our property line on up to the city, up to Casey.
Sorry to interrupt. Could you get closer to the microphone, please?
Barely hear you, Mr.
Yeah.
Perry.
Turn this speaker up. Us.
I've got this all the way up right now.
All right, what it is the actual sidewalk. Can we go ahead and extend it up to our property line on Hamilton Trenton Road? Like I said, there's 2 kids. I watched 2 kids 2 different days walking right alongside. It's just a matter of time till someone gets hit. And I think we need to be, once again, proactive instead of reactive. And the second thing, I know when I was on council, probably 2 or 3 years ago, we've discussed this fence ordinance for the last 5 years. And all the ordinances, we all said that it was time to redo these ordinances. I did talk to myself and also, which is pretty good, Calvin Woodry. We'd love to get the ball rolling. Let's get a group together. Let's make some decisions on changing it. I had 2 people call me this week wanting to know about the fence ordinance. I know it was discussed about moving it to the front of your house instead of to the side or to the back. And I said, yes, it was discussed. It was discussed 2 or 3 years ago. Nothing's ever been done. I know the attorney's very busy, and maybe it's time that we as a group, get a group together, council or whatever, residents, to benefit the residents. Let them participate in it and be part of it. So any consideration would definitely be appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
I got a question. Mr. Baker, I got a question for you.
Turn your mic on.
Mr. Baker, can our staff pour that sidewalk, or will we have to contract that out?
That would probably have to be contracted out. It's ironic that this was brought up. We are currently discussing putting sidewalks out through that area beyond the city limits as we speak, which would also include a bridge going across the Jackson Ditch. So we're looking at some funding. I believe it's OKI funding and other options. So that's actually already in the works.
There's a grant out there through the state of Ohio called the Safe Student Act. I know that St. Clair Township trustees know about this. They've already went to the county engineer and they've already had an estimate on how much it would cost for them to have the sidewalk poured to our city line and also that bridge be put in. I'm just wondering, it's not possible for city staff to do it. We would have to contract that. Could you possibly get us a dollar figure on how much that would cost for us to take care of our part on the city side?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Baker.
All right, any further? All right, moving on. We have no unfinished business or public hearing, so we'll move to new business. Number 1 is a voice motion to rescind the June 6, 2026 public hearing date and set a new public hearing date for June 18th, 2026, as June 6th is a Saturday. I will entertain a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Nichols and Vice Mayor Croucher. Roll call, please.
Mr. Nichols,
Yay.
Vice Mayor Croucher,
Yay.
Ms. Montgomery,
Yay.
Mr. Profit,
Yay.
Ms. Butts,
Yay.
Mr. Rourke,
Yay.
Mayor Perry.
Yay. Right. Move on to legislation. I will entertain a motion that we read items 1 and 2 under legislation by title only.
So move.
Second.
Vice Mayor Croucher and Councilwoman Montgomery. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Croucher,
Yay.
Ms. Montgomery,
Yay.
Mr. Profit,
Yay.
Mr. Nichols,
Yay.
Ms. Butts,
Yay.
Mr. Rourke,
Yay.
Mayor Perry.
Yay. Right. Mr. Ziffel.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 1, ordinance amending section 222.04, the City of Trenton Code of Ordinances. Item 2, resolution to cancel maintenance of Elk Creek, section 9, declaring
Just so we know, and to let everyone know with the maintenance bond. So what maintenance bonds are, and like I always say, stop me if I'm wrong. A maintenance bond is an amount of money that a builder puts out before they actually put other things in to ensure that they finish the project. So when we say we're giving a maintenance bond back to a builder, that is money that they put up to ensure that that area has been built to their to our standards.
If I can, Mayor, just to avoid our Public Works Director from making the walk to the podium, I would note that there are 2 bonds that are required. One is a performance bond. That is the bond you put up
Okay.
upon development of the public infrastructure that would ultimately be handed over to the city for maintenance. Upon construction and completion, the city effectively subs out the maintenance bond, the performance bond for a maintenance bond. It's a 1-year maintenance bond is required by our code. It's essentially a 1-year warranty on the products to make sure that they're maintained and they're, that there's no issues with them within that period. Very common practice with municipalities to ensure that the public infrastructure that they're going to maintain is actually installed correctly.
Okay. Thank you for clearing that up. I forgot there were two separate ones, and one was one thing and one was the other. So thank you. There is a request that we read the mandatory 2 readings and vote on this tonight. I'll entertain a motion we do so.
So move.
Second.
Vice Mayor Croucher and Councilman Nichols. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Croucher,
Yay.
Mr. Nichols,
Yay.
Ms. Montgomery,
Yay.
Mr. Prophet,
Yeah.
Ms. Butts,
Yay.
Mr. Rourke,
Yay.
Mayor Perry.
Yay. Go on to reports. We'll stay with you, Mr. Beresford. Oh, we need a motion to approve. Sorry. I will entertain a motion that we approve.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Nichols and Vice Mayor Croucher. Roll call, please.
Mr. Nichols,
Yay.
Vice Mayor Croucher,
Yay.
Ms. Montgomery,
Yay.
Mr. Prophet,
Yay.
Ms. Butts,
Yay.
Mr. Rourke,
Yay.
Mayor Perry.
Yay. Right, now we can move on to reports. Mr. Beresford.
Thank you, Mayor. Just kind of want to bring to council's attention, we have an event that's going on in the first council meeting in July, and I would inquire if council would like to move the July council meetings to the 3rd and 5th, the 2nd and 4th Thursday of July. So that would be July 9th and July 23rd for the regular council meetings.
Do you have any, is there any discussion that wants to take place, or?
No.
I think that's a pretty reasonable thought. Do we need to vote on that, or can we just? Okay. Okay.
Change this by motion. You still comply with the meeting requirements.
Okay. I will entertain a motion that we change the dates of the meetings presented to us by Mr. Beresford.
So move.
Second.
Vice Mayor Croucher and Councilman Nichols. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Croucher,
Yay.
Mr. Nichols,
Yay.
Ms. Montgomery,
Yay.
Mr. Prophet,
Yay.
Ms. Butts,
Yay.
Mr. Rourke,
Yay.
Mayor Perry.
Yay.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ziffel.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no reports.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nichols.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no reports. However, I did want to ask if council was interested in going back into executive session at the end of the meeting.
Do we have, for the same reasons
Yeah.
stated? Is there any interest?
Sure.
I see like a little head nod here and there, but
I'm good either way. Yeah.
Well, then I'll go ahead and request executive session to consider confidential information that is directly related to a request for economic development assistance under any provision identified in Ohio Revised Code 121.22 subsection G8, or that involves public infrastructure improvements or the extension of utility services that are directly related to an economic development project, as necessary to protect the interests of the applicant or the possible investment or expenditure of public funds to be made in connection with the economic development project, and to confer with legal counsel.
thank you. Mr. Masiskis.
Good evening, Mayor. My only report is regarding Rita. So when we initially started onboarding, I did mention several times that there would be a pause in the allocation of penalties and interest for folks, just so that they can get used to the system. It's very easy to enroll. You can enroll within just less than 5 minutes, really. And we have been hosting our own in-office tax services throughout this entire time period. With that in mind, we have now ended that additional grace period for the penalties and interest from Rita, and they will start sending out, doing essentially their own due diligence, and then also start sending their tax bills. So if you get something from Rita and you don't understand what it is, there is a line at the bottom of that that you can always call them and ask for clarification, but our office will still be open to handle those issues. Additionally, in my weekly reports, I've begun adding my email and phone number to those. Financial information is always a learning experience. There are some quite complicated items, legislation, and information in the weekly reports, and it is important for the public to understand what those mean. So anyone may reach out by phone or email for any of those items.
Thank you. Councilman Rourke.
I enjoyed tonight. I appreciate all the updates of everything going on in the city. I feel like our staff does a great job. I mean, they let us know what's going on, and I'm glad we haven't had no disappointing news about something not working out, something been delayed, or over budgeting. So I appreciate all that. Appreciate everybody being here.
It'll happen eventually, don't worry.
Well, as of right now, I appreciate it. I'm done.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
thank you. Councilman Prophet.
I have no reports.
Thank you. Councilwoman Butts.
I would like to thank everybody for continuing to be engaged and interested in what's going on in the city. Thank you to Mr. Baker for insisting that the splash pad be done correctly and working with majors on that. And thanks to Nick for your report. That was very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Nichols.
I'd just like to thank everybody for being here tonight. And for those that don't know it, today is actually National Day of Prayer. That was established, I think it was back in 1952. And for the past few years, the Edgewood Ministerial Association has organized a small prayer meeting over at the Founders Park. This year it was held in the new gazebo. I was honored to be asked to speak at that. And I'd just like to thank Jason Vance and Jason Pauley, both from the EMA, for organizing that this year. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much. Councilwoman Montgomery.
Well, first of all, I just want to say that I appreciate all of the information that you gave us, Nick. Thank you so very much for working on that. And also, I'd like to say that as I normally do, I count it an honor and a privilege to be a part of City Council and to live in the city of Trenton. I was approached by a person on Sunday at church, actually, that said to me, the mother of one of our EMTs was watching the City Council meeting the night that we were able to acknowledge how that they had helped a lady that could have died, and they were able to get her to the hospital. They did all that needed to be done according to the atrium nurse that was here talking so good about them. But I have a heart for that young man, because when I fell in my house, he was the one that came and settled me down. His name is Thomas. And he turned around, and if you were watching, he came over this and to give me a hug, because he went through some things himself. And my sister and I, we do a prayer every single morning. We get up early and we do it together, and it's been a strength and a help to our family. Right now, my husband's going through some stuff. And I just know that God's got it. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Montgomery, and all of our prayers are with you every day. I hope you know that. All right, Vice Mayor Croucher.
Thank you, Mrs. Montgomery, for the prayer. Mr. Baker, thank you.
Yes,
Public Works is doing a fantastic job.
always are.
I'd also like to thank Mr. Ziffel for the presentation, explaining and laying everything out. It is Mother's Day this Sunday, and happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. Other than that, Mayor, I have no other report.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Croucher. I would like to start off mine with thanking a few people. Number one, I want to thank the Edgewood Baseball Association on Saturday. They had their opening day, and I'd like to thank them for inviting me out there. They had a beautiful setup where they had some bounce houses. They did the national anthem before it started, and also a lot of the kids got to join in a parade. So I'd like to thank them and the commitment that they put towards baseball and the youth of this community. And also, I was told right before that I was talking to the president, and he said he sent out an all calls bulletin to people in the community to come because there were a lot of rocks in the field after they turned it over. And he said that there was a great turnout to take a lot of the rocks that were on the field and get them out of the field. So I'd like to thank the whole city of Trenton for that. It's well appreciated. It's a great cause, and let's just keep supporting him. Speaking of support, also, I got to get the details straight here. On May 16th at 11 a.m. to 6 p.m., there is going to be a festival at the soccer field, Cleats and Eats. It helps both the Trenton Soccer Association and Edgewood Premier FC. There's going to be family-friendly day of soccer, fun, food, raffles, special guest appearances, and more. And I see both the Cincinnati Bengals mascot and also Gary the Lion from FC Cincinnati. So I would imagine that they will be making an appearance. I went last year, and it was great. There were numerous food trucks and activities out there. So please, if you're available on May 16th and have a chance, go out there and support them. They do a wonderful job as well. They added a season. So now there's 2 soccer seasons, which as a kid I wish I had. And they just need support from the community. And then lastly, I would like to extend a thank you to Trenton Sports Bar and Restaurant. They had their grand opening today, right before the council meeting. And if you haven't had their food, you need to go try some of their food. And I would say get a little bit of everything, because what we had today and what I've had earlier with going into the restaurant are great. And their dumplings that they call momos are insanely good. So I would say go over there, get some momos, enjoy the food. They're very good. And then I guess the last thing is Saturday, the Edgewood Volleyball is celebrating their 30th anniversary of 30 years of having a team, and they're having some alumni games there that day. So if anybody would like to go and wish them a happy 30th year anniversary and support that. I also want to add that their coach, Mark Blair, has been the coach of that team for all 30 of their years. And Mr. Blair, I had him in math when I was there, and he's a fantastic gentleman. So if you get a chance, go out there and say hi, maybe watch some volleyball and catch up with some people that you know. And at that, I will entertain a motion that we go into executive session for the reasons stated by City Manager Nichols.
So moved.
Second.
Vice Mayor Croucher and Councilwoman Montgomery. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Croucher,
Yay.
Ms. Montgomery,
Yay.
Mr. Prophet,
Yay.
Mr. Nichols,
Yay.
Ms. Butts,
Yay.
Mr. Rourke,
Yay.
Mayor Perry.
Yay. We are going into executive session at 8:28 p.m. There will be no other business conducted when we adjourn executive session besides adjourning the meeting. So thank you, and I'll see you in a couple weeks.